shot of whiskey.
Hey everybody, I'm Shane.
I'm Chris.
That's Chris with a K, not four M's and a silent Q.
That's right, or 3 or something.
Yeah, Chris is standing in. Lex has been compelled to take a vacation. But found out he's still going to, the Cure's in town, and I found out he's going to be at the concert. I'm going to be at the concert tomorrow, so we're both going to be at the same concert.
So interestingly enough, that's the Cure.
The Cure.
Sorry.
Oh my.
I want to see him wear his black eyeliner.
Chris, leave now.
And that was Chris, everybody. See you later, man. Bye.
That's it. I'm done.
What are you drinking, dude?
This is tea. This is Oyocha tea.
Oh, yeah. It's got Japanese symbols all over it.
Japan's #1 green tea brand. It's true.
You know what? Let's get some of that Japanese whiskey in here. I've got some.
Oh yeah.
So maybe I'll get you to try some of that.
Oh, yeah. Yamazaki.
Well, we're gonna talk about. Well, I mean, I guess it was billed as non-scannable devices, but more it's some new features in PDQ Inventory 9, which was released this morning.
Yep.
And so if you haven't installed it, by all means, feel free to install it now. We're going to talk about some new features. One of the most requested features we've ever had, I think, is network discovery. We'll walk through that in a moment. And then that will actually help you find another request that was kind of implemented a few versions ago, is at least being able to keep devices that inventory cannot scan in inventory, so that we can at least kind of keep track of them.
Keep inventory of them.
Mm-hmm. And the network discovery is going to kind of help find additional devices. So that's kind of where we're going to go. But we want to talk about some of the new features in inventory, and some pretty big changes, actually. Well, I guess it's big depending on if you have used the feature in the past, like for the registry scanner.
Yeah.
All right.
Boy.
So what we've got now is PDQ Inventory 9. We are running in enterprise mode. We don't have any computers in here. We're going to show you some best practices on not only on the network discovery, but also here's how you can add computers. We talk with customers, find out they've been customers for years, and they still add computers manually. They use Active Directory, but they don't use Active Directory sync.
Which is like one of the best things we have in inventory. It's amazing.
Right. So we're going to show you a few things. Now, those of you who are certainly like Chris, like me, where we like to do the keyboard shortcuts, there's one that's no longer there. Might cause some. Well, I was infuriated, even though I was there when we designed the specs.
Yeah.
Because I still do it. It's when you want to add computers manually, and you would hit Control-Shift-A. That's gone because we've tried to make this a little bit easier. By the way, here's your welcome screen, and there's different ways of adding your computers. There's the Active Directory sync. Wish more of you would use that, especially in AD environments. The browse by name from Active Directory, and that's where you just it's kind of a one-time hit. Every time you go there, you can choose an Active Directory container. Network discovery, we'll cover that, and then of course by name. The Control-Shift-A would usually bring up this window, minus a few other features. We've broken down, right?
Yes.
So what's this window do for us?
This window here is going to actually give us the chance to add machines manually, as we have in the past. So we can add a machine by name, like Costanza.
And obviously, whatever scan user you selected is going to be, for this particular import, applied to all of the computers that you add.
Yep.
All right, so yeah, we could just add Costanza right there, and then Costanza is being entered. Let's go back to computer, add computers. Should we hurry and cover AD sync real quick?
Sure. Right. Since we're kind of pushing this because it is by far the easiest way to manage these, let's do AD sync here.
AD sync, you go there. It will open up your preferences, take you to the Active Directory panel, and you get to choose whether you want to just basically use Active Directory as a reference to automatically add and/or delete computers from inventory.
Not from Active Directory, mind you. We can't stress that enough.
We'll import from Active Directory into and then add to the database. And when we delete, we only delete from the database. We do not delete from Active Directory. So let's say that number one, your delete mode's important. Obviously, the default is import only. That means that if you delete a computer in Active Directory and you have your delete mode as import only, it won't delete it.
Yep.
That corresponding
record.
Still be there. If you only use Active Directory, full sync is great, because then you know that you can just say full sync. If it's in Active Directory in a sync container, it's going to be added and it's going to be correspondingly removed. Mixed sync is if you have some computers that aren't in Active Directory, right?
Yep. So for example, work group computers that, some of you might have mixed environments, so we kind of have both options there.
And as well as the non-scan computers if you want to track other devices, obviously, that aren't in Active Directory. So anyway, we'll just do this really quick. We're going to choose mixed sync. And then you have to specify which containers you want to include. Now you can choose the entire root, in this case the Deadwood domain. And then if I wanted to do that, I would just select Deadwood. Make sure you include subtrees checked.
Yep.
And it would grab everything. I'm not going to do that now. But you could say, maybe I want everything in Deadwood, include that, and then exclude maybe something like domain controllers if you don't want those. So notice there's a little, if you can see the little shading of the icon, I'm including everything at the root except for anything in here. We'll delete those. So we'll just do something smaller here. Deadwood computers. We'll just do maybe Windows 8.1.
Sounds good.
All right. So this means if we say sync now, it's going to go out to this container. We said do the subtrees. It's going to always add this. If I click auto sync enabled, that means every hour it's going to go out and check to see if there's any changes. And of course, you can change that increment if you want. Some people do it once a day. Some people do it
all the time.
Yeah, I think the smallest increment is 15 minutes.
That sounds about right.
So anyway, and notice now that's adding those computers that are in there. Now let's talk network discovery.
Okay.
Do you want to drive?
Sure.
All right.
Let's do this one. So our new feature for adding computers is network discovery. We have the ability to add an IP address range or an actual, using the slash notation, and actually go out there and just kind of say, hey, are you out there? If you're available and you respond, whether by ping or if you're attempting to scan, pull it in.
And before you do that, I want to actually hit cancel for a second because this is important. Go to preferences.
Okay.
And he hit control comma once again. He didn't go to file. He's a control. He's a command guy. Okay, so go down to scanning, please.
Okay. Go down to scanning.
So notice our offline settings. The default is attempt scan. This is going to have an impact on your network discovery. What we've changed here, our offline settings for when we scan a computer is we send a ping out to every computer before we scan it, and just say, hey, if whatever we're attempting to scan responds to a ping, then we'll scan it. If it doesn't, in other words, it doesn't respond to a ping, or even if pings it doesn't even allow ICMP, so it can't, it will never get scanned. This will make your network discovery faster, but it will not discover devices that cannot respond to a ping. Yep. If you keep the default of attempt scan, which is right here, your network discovery will take a lot longer because we'll still send the ping out, but even if we don't get a ping back, we're going to then attempt to scan that, and that can take some time.
Quite a bit of time, actually.
So we're just going to hit do not attempt just for this exercise, and I'll turn it back over to Chris.
Sweet. We'll open up that window again, add computers, network discovery. And here, by default, it actually grabs whatever net mask, whatever subnet mask that you have. And here we're a /21 network, so it kind of grabbed our range and said, here you are.
That will scan thousands of potential addresses. So let's make it a little easier and just change that to 24.
Yeah.
Or obviously you could do an IP address range. This is IPv4. We're not doing IPv6.
Yeah. So pretty simple. We'll stick with the range here.
All right.
Using this for the credentials, the Quintana, and then we'll just hit start discovery. And then here, it'll actually go through and randomly go through and grab the IP addresses in that range and actually try and reach out to them. In this case, since we're doing the ping first, it'll say, hey, are you available? And then kind of grab it and pull back.
So. And as he said, randomly. So it actually doesn't start, in this case, we said anything from 10.0.0.1 to 255. Yes. It doesn't necessarily start at 1. We put some randomization in there, not only to piss you off, but also to hopefully make your loads a little better. Phrasing. We actually had customers that say, hey, we break our IP addresses up by building, and when you guys do everything sequentially, that hits one particular building hard. So we're just going to change that up a little bit, do some random. So that finished very quickly.
Yes, it did.
But once again, we had our, do not attempt to scan. So this only found devices that responded to a ping.
Yep.
And then we attempt to scan them. So here are these machines. Those are offline. those were from the previous AD sync.
Yep.
All right, so let's come over here. Let's see what we can do. 10.0.0.17. Obviously, this did not respond, or this did not resolve the address.
Yep.
So whatever node this is responded to a ping, but it's not in DNS. We don't know what this is.
Not cool.
So we've actually done, now we're going to move over, or should we go into the custom tools? Or should we take a question?
And yeah.
What's the question?
All right, we'll let that do some scanning.
All right, this one is from Jason A.
Hey, Jason.
Will these be marked as an unscannable device so we could fix the ones that are supposed to be scannable?
Okay. No, the network discovery will, when it attempts, like look at 10.0.0.17, I'm going to go on a limb out here and say this is not a Windows machine, and it's not going to be able to be scanned. And so it's still queued. Remember, your queued settings are based off of the number of concurrent scans that you set up. That's in preferences, by the way.
Yep.
I believe the default is 32 concurrent. So anyway, this will be attempted to be scanned here in a second. It's probably not going to resolve, but it's not going to be marked as unscannable. To do that, what will we do?
Well, there's a couple different options. You can actually right-click on the machine itself, and there's an option here in this context menu that's allow scan. It shows that it's checked. If we click that, it'll deselect that, and now it'll be considered a unscannable machine.
But you can edit certain aspects of this machine. I'm going to resize that, or remove that window over. All right. But what is this? I mean, if you don't know what 10.0.0.17 is, you kind of have to do some work. Probably a good idea to go into custom tools a little bit.
We have some good ones to show you.
And this is also a great feature. It's been here forever. And by the way, there was a question on the chat of network discovery. Does it require a certain level of licensing? Yes, it's pro or enterprise. It's not available in the free. And maybe somebody answered that. I don't know. I just saw that question. So I'm going to go over to preferences. We have an awesome feature that is so underutilized.
It really is. It's one of the best ones.
It's called custom tools. Many of you are familiar with the tools that we're talking about. When I go into Costanza, for example, this computer, I can go to the tools menu, and I have all of these tools. I can initiate PDQ deployment. I could initiate a remote desktop or VNC, etc. You can add your own tools here, and that's called custom tool. Once again, it's in preferences. And I like these. I got some of these from Charlie, who works here, and of course Chris will probably add some here. One of the things Charlie has, he's added Get Mac. You can always add a new tool by clicking New Tool, but I'm going to just double click on this. What does Get Mac do? Get Mac says, whenever you run this tool on a machine, open up your command prompt. That's the command prompt on the console, and just run an ARP.
Yep.
So we're just going to actually reference the ARP table to see if we can extract the MAC address. That can be important because you could copy and paste that MAC address into a non-scannable computer's MAC field. That can be important for Wake on LAN or whatever you want. That was a feature request that we've had. Web Connect. I like this one. Charlie just called it Web Connect. He runs a command again, and then just issues a start and adds a URL. And notice the variable %target IP address.
Yes.
That means it's going to grab the IP address of whatever you've selected and try to open up a web browser going to that node. And some devices like printers and stuff, they will have that.
They have that, which is just so awesome. This makes it easy to actually navigate and find, oh, this is a printer, oh, this is a phone, and you can actually go in and edit those fields and specify that. So.
Yep. We can try, let's just try 10.0.0.
Yeah.
I have no idea what this is. Let's try one of those. Let's go to Web Connect, and we'll just see. This should open up a web browser here, and we'll see what it does. All right, so this one wasn't going to work, right? By the way, somebody find me an address of a printer, and I can add that just so we can see that. Get Charlie or somebody to get me that information so we don't have to do a discovery of the whole network. Anything else you want to do to find that one? 10.0.0.17?
Well, at this point, we can see if it's maybe would respond to like an SSH, perhaps.
We could do that. Let me try this one really quick. The the name check, and that's going to be, that just runs an NBT stat against this machine. And no, okay.
Nothing.
The cool thing about this NBT stat is it does like a reverse address.
Yeah.
Maybe you might see the name of the information.
Now, why did that one do 119?
I'm sorry?
Why did that one do, when you clicked on ones or on .0.17, it did .0.119? Was there a...
Let me try that again. And the answer is I didn't catch that one, JJ. So thanks for calling it out. Oh, you know what? That's because this is the that's not the address that we're going for. This is actually the address of this machine.
Oh.
I believe that's what it is. Just like when you do an NS lookup, you're going to see the name of the IP address of your name server.
Right.
People think, whoa, that's not the address I'm looking for. Anyway.
Oh.
You want to try a secure shell?
It could be a Linux machine or a
That's
Linux
right.
box or something. So one of the tools that I like to use, I've managed Linux boxes in the past. SSH.
Okay.
If you've managed them, you've probably used SSH. We've installed Putty on here, so I'm just going to
Create a custom tool.
custom tool. So let's do new tool here. We'll just call this SSH. Really simple. Unless Putty's in your path, it's not going to be able to run directly, so you just have to navigate to it. And I believe this is a 64-bit Windows, so...
Notice how he types instead of clicks the ellipsis to actually navigate to it.
Why would I do that? Putty. You see, and then the syntax is just -SSH. And then let's just say you want to do host name at target.
Now, really quick, how do you know which variables you can use? I'm going to hit F1 because we've got this window open, the custom computer tool. I'm going to hit F1, and that takes you to using custom tools. And we'll show you, if you scroll down a little bit, we'll show you the variables that are available there. It's just basically in our help document. So %target will resolve the name of the computer in inventory. We're basically saying grab whatever's in the name and expand that variable to use that value. The same with obviously target IP address or MAC address, et cetera, et cetera.
Yep.
Which is another cool reason why if you needed to add a MAC address manually, you could add that and then you would have that MAC address available as a variable. 0.246? Okay, I'm going to do that real quick. Yeah, so we're going to just add a printer to 10. What was that?
10.0.0.246.
So I'm just going to add this device. Actually, that should have actually picked it up. Let's go down because we had that in our 246. All right, there's 246. So we had that in our initial range. So I'm going to go to Tools and do Web Connect. Once again, it's just attempts to open up move this window over here. Oh, there it is, Lexmark. Okay, so now we know this is a Lexmark MS310DN. What can I do with that information? Well, first of all, I'm going to mark this as don't allow scanning. Once again, you can right click, as we had shown you, or you can open up this computer, or this device, sorry, and go to computer and say uncheck allow scan. So now it's not going to scan. It's just not going to try taking up scan queues when in the future. But you have some editable fields here. Like you could specify a chassis. Maybe this is a printer. You can enter your own if you don't like the drop downs. And then OS. Maybe we could call this a Lexmark. This is up to you. You guys can put whatever you want in here, and you can fill out the OS name or whatever you want. It doesn't matter. Because now I'm going to close that up and I'm going to see this is a Lexmark, and I can actually create a collection or a report saying show me all the Lexmarks or anything with a chassis of a printer or whatever like that. Yeah. And now I know that's not going to be scanned, but I know that's there. And if there's any web enabled actions that you can perform, we've got a custom tool that we've created that goes out to that website, right? It just goes out to this device, and we can see our printer settings and stuff. So, no, we're not scanning it, but those of you who have asked, I want to be able to keep track of this, it's a one-time hit. You've got to find out what it is, classify it appropriately, but then you have that in your database, and you can take actions against it, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, sure.
All right, this one is from the man that everybody loves, Raymond. If your LAN connects to multiple sites, how do you control what is auto-discovered?
Well, there's not an auto discovery. In other words, this doesn't go out to the network discovery tool doesn't run on a schedule. Unlike the AD sync that would. AD sync, you can have that run on a schedule, and that just grabs whatever device, whatever computer objects are in your sync containers. So if your LAN connects to multiple sites, how do you control what's auto discovered? I'm going to modify your question, Raymond, and say how do you determine what's discovered? Well, that's simply by when you do your network discovery. Remember, this is a manual step. You have to do this whenever you want. You would specify either the appropriate subnet, or you would exclude, if you want to do IP ranges, you would exclude certain ranges from your discovery. So we've already gone 10.0.0.0 yada yada to 2, or we did this the C
/24
the class C version. Yeah. So in this case, you could say, just grab 10.0.0.7 to 10.0.7.255.
Yep.
And scan those, and it will go forward. Oh yeah.
We can actually show how would you exclude that.
All right. Why don't you go ahead?
Sure.
Thank you. He mentioned it. Yeah, there is a way to exclude that. If you want to scan a lot of devices here, or a lot of ranges here, go ahead.
Yep. So let's say you have a large network and you don't want to scan many devices. Let's just go down a little bit and just say you have, well, quite a bit. Let's do a /16 here. Tons of addresses, tons of ranges.
65,000?
Yes, it's going to take a long time to scan. You don't want to scan all of them because you actually know where your segments are. You can actually tell it to exclude other sections. So it'll open up the preferences to the network section, and then here you can actually add, similarly to the other window, you can add a single address, or using / notation an entire range, or you can actually add the range manually this way. And so if we were doing the same example that we just did now, /16, you might actually say, well, let's actually start this at
10.0.7.0.
Just 7.0.
10.0.
Well, I can type 10.0.7.0. It's really awkward from this angle. So
Sorry.
from that, no, it works. 10.0.12.0, and you can exclude these 1281 addresses. I guess it'd probably makes sense to do something like that. But in any case, I'm just kind of randomly typing numbers here. These ones will not be attempted to have network discovery on them. It won't scan them, won't attempt to scan them, won't even think about attempting to scan them.
And that's really ever, because this is a central setting. So anytime you do a network discovery, if this particular range is in that discovery, it's going to be excluded until you go into preferences, network, and remove that.
Yep. Right. So if we were to add it, you can actually see that it is there for eternity until, like Shane said, you remove it. In which case we can see here.
Cool.
Delete.
Yeah, we have another question.
From Massimo. What's the best way / best practice to organize the non-scannable devices in a dynamic group?
Hi, Massimo. Okay, so best practice. Best practice would be to obviously have for your environment, have some type of standard and how you're going to name, like maybe your printers or your Linux machines or your Mac devices. So if you have a standard OS that you assign to them, or a standard chassis, once you have all those devices grouped appropriately, you could come over, create a new dynamic collection. Maybe go printers. In this case, we said chassis, so you go to your computer table.
Yep.
Chassis contains printer, and this should hold one device. All right, so the best practice is stick with a standard. Define a standard, and then stick with that. And then you could have your collections of Mac devices, Linux devices. If you have Windows 2000, it's something that we can't scan because it can't take .NET 4. You could throw all of those in here in your collections.
Yes, you could.
Also, obviously, if there's a collection, there can be a report. So you can also have reports of all chassis that aren't workstations or servers or whatever.
Right. Anything really.
All right.
From Larry G. Will inventory be able to do anything with printers? For example, collect page counts, etc.
So hi Larry, not natively, but like we had discussed, if your printer happens, in this case, to have like a little web server, which so many of them do now, then you could come out and create your custom tool, in this case to do a web connect. Just go to that IP address in a web browser, and then you'd be able to see that information if it does in fact allow it. And sometimes people allow it, but you have to enter a username and password. So this is how you would do it. It's not native, but with the ability to keep that device in inventory, coupled with a custom tool like this, I can come over here and look at the status, the printers, the how much ink is available, whatever that printer happens to report. Like I say, sometimes this might be protected by a password, so what would happen is you'd be presented with a username password in your browser. You just enter that in, and then you have access to that. But the launching point was inventory. Hope that answers that question. Yeah, sure, whatever.
Sweet.
From Burkett M1. With all of the different ways now to populate inventory, if you know the same device somehow shows up as more than one device, can you merge them together?
Wow. If it's going to show up as one device, multiple devices have different records. Obviously, you probably have some issues with DNS, or two devices share the same IP address and one happens to be offline. No, you can't merge them. We don't have a way to merge records in inventory together. So basically, though, if they have the same IP address, delete one that's not appropriate, or modify that IP address,
right,
so that you can. But no, there's not a way to take two records and merge them into one.
From Dan C. Why are you blocking us from editing the description field on these?
Because we hate everyone? I don't know.
We don't like describing things.
There's two description fields. The description fields that we grab are, one comes from Active Directory. So actually, I don't think I ever added the Active Directory users and computers here in the custom tool. I usually do that. One description comes from Active Directory, and the other one comes from this. If you were to, I'm going to right-click here, or pardon me, I'm going to go to Computer. Pardon me. One comes from the Computer description setting, and that was, I want to go to Properties here. I'm still getting used to this one, to Windows, sorry. There it is, System.
Yeah, with the name and description stuff.
Shane doesn't know how to use Windows 10.
Right. So, yeah, right. No doubt. So one comes from the description right there. Change computer settings. The two description fields we have, one from AD, so you'd access that in Active Directory users and computers, or the computer description. We don't have a manual description field. If we were to add that, I guess we could make that editable in the computer level one, but then if it ever got scanned, you did have it scanned or scanned at a future date, it would get overwritten by whatever is in the computer properties.
Which is true for all the editable fields, so
yeah.
If they want it, it's popular now.
Maybe somebody make a note of that. Maybe we can make a description field editable. So, we added a few, we introduced these devices, these non-scannable devices a few versions ago, and based on your feedback, we've made a few of these additional, like IP address and MAC address, editable, so that you could just go ahead and modify that. So, yeah, if we wanted the description, maybe we could throw that in there. No. Just keep that in mind that generally under the general description, that comes from computer properties, and Active Directory description, obviously from whatever Active Directory object description has been set. So, cool. All right, so hey guys, takeaway. Use network discovery. Keep in mind that if your offline policy, don't forget that, because that can affect how fast your network discovery takes place. Because you're only allowed X number of concurrent scans in a queue. And custom tools, please jump into custom tools. Utilize that. you can do a custom, if you use Dameware for remote control, you can have a custom tool to initiate a Dameware remote control session from inventory. I mean, there's so many things that you can do. We have those people who discover it, love it.
Tons of it. You could actually do a PowerShell script from it, just throwing that out there, because PowerShell.
Because Chris, PowerShell.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, if you guys have any other questions, by all means, hit us up, and we'll talk to you guys next week.
All right.
See ya.
Ciao.
All right, thank you guys so much for joining today. Sorry we couldn't quite get to all your questions, but we're here for you at support.adminarsenal.com, so do hit us up. Our winners for PDQ swag are Massimo R. and Raymond E. So if you guys will email me at webcast@adminarsenal.com, I'll get you hooked up with some swag. That is Massimo R. and Raymond E. We'll see you guys next Thursday.